Hey, we got mail brought there, guys.
Oh, shit. We'll go back and check.
You're not in the habit of checking.
Well, I did last meeting. I forgot to check now. You ready?
You get proclamation.
No proclamations.
Still won't.
Also, here it takes up to 7 for that one.
There's citizens.
Yeah, yeah.
You gonna acknowledge it?
Scott, did we bring up that piece?
Hey,
for-
Mayor, you gonna acknowledge that the KO's here?
Let's see if we can get our speakers on. I think they're on now. So I want to welcome everybody here to our June 28th Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board meeting. We're going to call the meeting to order here in just a second, but there are a few house rules here that I think that we should go over. The public is hereby notified that if the meeting is disrupted, as it was on June 14th, that the council will then immediately reconvene as soon as practicable into a electronic-only meeting at the Zoom link in this meeting below to conduct the people's business. The Zoom link will not be active unless the in-person meeting is disrupted. Persons are reminded, quite frankly, of the following. We welcome germane comments from the public at the appropriate time, but this is a council business meeting, and the council needs to conduct, in this case, the housing agency, the people's business. And the council has rules that are validly adopted under Iowa law, and those rules will be followed. Number 2, anyone engaging in disruptive conduct will result in those being disruptive being ordered to leave the chamber. 3, no person will be permitted to stand in the council chamber during council sessions between the audience seats and the council members, except the persons addressing the council at the speaker's microphone, and only after being recognized. Number 4, all persons desiring to address the council may do so only when recognized, but the council reserves the right to limit the speaker's time and the order in which the speakers may address the council. Under Section 2-70 of the City Code, it is illegal to interrupt any person who is addressing the council except by a council member, and it is illegal to disrupt the council meeting. 6, everyone in attendance has First Amendment rights, and any disruptive conduct by one person or a group impinges on the rights of others who are present, so disruptive conduct will not be tolerated. Number 7, if the meeting is disrupted, the council, the public speaking portion of the meeting will be moved to the next in-person meeting, which is not disrupted. And 8, those who disrupt the meeting will not be called on during the electronic meeting and may be cited for disorderly conduct, trespass, or interfering with the good order of the meeting or other applicable charges. So, having said that, let's call the meeting of the Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board to order, and let's take roll.
County,
Here.
Boson,
Here.
Voss,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Westergaard, here, Mandelbaum,
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
Your Honor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 2 is approving the agenda as presented and/or as amended. Could we have a motion?
I'll move approval.
It's been moved. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? Item's approved. Item 3 is a memorandum of understanding MOU between the City of Des Moines, the Des Moines Municipal Housing Agency, the Polk County Continuum of Care, Primary Healthcare, Inc., for housing search assistance for emergency housing voucher program. There is a board communication, and I think it's important is we try to reach out to help those who are most in need, that everybody understands what this is about. Approval of the memorandum of understanding between the City of Des Moines and Municipal Housing Agency, Polk County Continuum of Care, the Primary Health Care, Inc., for housing search assistance for emergency housing assistant voucher program. The Des Moines Municipal Housing Agency will receive 120 housing assistance vouchers from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and will partner with the Polk County Continuum of Care and their centralized intake provider, Primary Healthcare, Inc., for client selection and housing search assistance. This impact will pay Primary Healthcare to do some of those services, or all those services, $3,500 per voucher issued for housing search assistance, and 50% of all placement fees Des Moines Housing Agency receives from HUD. These are HUD Emergency Housing Voucher Program. The Emergency Housing Voucher Program is available as part of the American Rescue Plan Act. As part of the program, we will, as I say, receive 120 vouchers for use in Polk County. And these vouchers are going to be eligible for individuals who are currently homeless, are in serious domestic violence situations, recently homeless, and for whom providing rental assistance will prevent the household's return to homelessness and have a high risk of housing instability. Persons at risk of homelessness. Additionally, Primary Healthcare will provide the following assistance, which is housing search assistance, security deposit assistance, utility deposit assistance, application fee assistance, holding fees for landlords, owner recruitment and outreach, owner incentive and retention payments, moving expenses, tenant readiness services, essential household items, and transportation. This is a very important piece, and I'd like to have either some discussion or a motion to accept this memorandum of understanding.
We'll move item number 3, Your Honor. It's a great program, and glad we're moving forward on it.
All right, any other discussion? It's been moved. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? The item passes. Item 4, could we have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
So moved.
It's been moved. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. This is important work. All right. Again, we've read the rules. They are the same for the City Council meeting as they are for the Municipal Housing Agency Governing Board. And we are going to move into our meeting. I would, again, we want all comments to remain germane and to be made at the appropriate time, but this is a council business meeting. And the council needs to conduct the people's business, and the council has rules that are validly adopted under Iowa law, and those laws must be followed. Anyone engaging in disruptive conduct will result in those being disruptive being ordered to leave our chambers. No person will be permitted to stand in the council chambers during council sessions between the audience seats and the council members, except the persons addressing the council at the speaker's microphone and only after being recognized. All persons desiring to address the council may do so only when recognized, but the council reserves the right to limit the speaker's time and the order in which the speakers may address the council. Under Section 2-70 of the City Code, it is illegal to interrupt any person who is addressing the council except by a council member, and it is illegal to disrupt the council meeting. Everyone in attendance has First Amendment rights, and any disruptive conduct by one person or group impinges on the rights of others present, so disruptive conduct will not be tolerated. If the meeting is disrupted, the public speaking portion of the meeting will be moved to the next in-person meetings, which is not disrupted. And lastly, those who disrupt the meeting will not be called on during the electronic meeting and may be cited for disorderly conduct, trespass, or interfering with the good order of the meeting and other applicable charges. So we're going to go ahead and open the meeting. Again, we have introduced that. I will ask quickly to have the clerk, now that the meeting is called to order, take roll.
County,
Here.
Boson,
Here.
Boss,
Here.
Gray,
Here.
Westergaard. Here. Mandelbaum.
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
Your Honor, we have a quorum.
All right, item 1I, it's amending the procedural rules of the Des Moines City Council. These rules have been posted and have been online. And we're going to ask that you please not disrupt this meeting.
Rules are oppressive.
Ask any discussion?
I have a discussion.
I'll move item
I
I.
have something to discuss.
Item I has been moved.
Your rules are and how they suck. Maybe you should all quit your jobs.
I would ask you to please,
Recognized by the council. I've been recognized by the presiding officer.
your behavior is being disruptive.
It's illegal to interrupt me unless you're a council member, so I would like to address the council, please.
This is procedure. The procedure rules have been posted. They have been online. And we will ask the city, this is not a voting item. This is a voting item for the council.
Can I address the council?
Not on this item. This is not an item for discussion. You are disrupting this meeting. I would ask you to stop at this time.
Sorry, what?
Any more?
You recognize me?
Your Honor, I made
Yeah.
a motion unless you want to.
We have a motion. Would you poll the council, please?
By the mayor, by the presiding officer, you were addressing me, so that mean that I've been recognized by the presiding officer?
You are being disrupted. Going to ask you to stop again. This is your third warning.
How many warnings do I get? Do I not get an answer to that?
All right? Could you turn on the voting, please?
He's going to do both.
They're all there.
Seven yes, motion carries.
Okay. Item 2 is approving the agenda as presented and/or as amended.
Move.
It's been moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. The item passes. Item 3 is approving the consent agenda. Those items are 3 through 51. On the consent items, again, 3 through 51, I vote no on item 5. Councilmember Gray votes no on item 26. I abstain on item 38. And Councilmember Bozen wishes to make a quick comment on item 29.
I'll move the remaining agenda items, Your Honor.
Yeah. There has been a citizen request for item 40 to be discussed. I will say that all the requests are pretty much the same and for the same item. So I quickly would like to have the manager make a quick comment on item 40.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe all of the council were included in those requests for pulling item 40 off of the consent. And within that item, it is, I think we're all aware that the community had asked us to look at bringing in some consultant assistance in police training. And this is the result of that work. And as such, this item is...
Okay, I'm going to ask right now that you stop. This is a warning, and I'd ask you to be quiet and not disrupt this meeting.
How many warnings do we get?
This is not a question and answer. I'm asking you to stop.
And so we have brought back this contract in order to get it in place before the August training that is necessary with our police department. I would recommend that it stay on the agenda consent.
I move item 3, Your Honor.
Okay, Adam.
Okay.
Okay, we're on shares. Can we just get her out of here?
All right.
Just get her out of here.
Just pull her.
Just get her.
All right. Also in the rules, we ask you not to stand. You're standing. We read the rules. You can't stand.
I think we moved.
No, you can't. Get off the chairs. Get off the furniture.
Moved to virtual.
Your own rules, County.
I'm going to ask you this again to sit down and behave yourself and do not disrupt this meeting.
That doesn't agree with your rules.
Is the public going to be able to orally remove items from consent? That was not clear. You voted on it, but the deadline was 3 p.m. in the past. Are we able to do that this week, or is it
Get him out of here.
Just get him out of here.
It has been asked, and the reasons were stated, they were all pretty much the same. We asked the manager to make a voting is in progress.
Are we able to orally remove items today or not? It's unclear. Yes or no?
It's a simple question.
Can we remove items today, yes or no?
Shocker.
The council can decide, and they have decided to pass the consent items.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Okay, there's 7 yes, motion carries. We ask you to please, again, not disrupt.
This is the people's business.
Roll it.
no, let's just get him out of here.
I'm sorry.
Come on, Scott, get him out of here.
Yeah.
Get him out of here.
Yeah, this is the city council's business meeting. Some of you have gone through the process and had put up your requests and talked about your concerns regarding any items. We've received those, and the council has voted on the item. The manager has explained the position on the item. We ask you again to do not disrupt this meeting. Please sit down. Okay?
Just get him out of here, please.
We would ask you to leave at this time. We'd ask you to leave.
I'm being respectful and sitting down.
Let's move on.
I have plenty of germane comments as it relates to items on and off the consent.
We have voted on the items. We are now asking, we're not asking people to speak from the back of the room. No. No, you have, no, you. No, this isn't a question and answer. We're trying to do the business of the citizens. All right.
We'll take a 5-minute recess and have them remove.
Just recess.
All right, we're going to take a recess.
I'll make a motion, 5-minute recess, Your Honor.
All right. We need to have you leave.
We need to have you listen to the community, sir. I'm
Bring your
disappointed.
dogs, you
I'm
want some?
disappointed to be a
I hate
member
all of
of this
you.
community.
Bye.
I'm very disappointed. I wish I had better representation on the southwest side of town.
I'm really disappointed in you too, Josh, because last time you said you would listen to the people, and you were barely paying any attention. Yeah, Josh, you're like the same shit out of anyone.
Please keep in mind that it is not legal to shoot fireworks off in the city of Des Moines. If we do get called to your house and we respond and we get the evidence that we need and the participation from the complainant, you're going to get a citation that probably costs you over $600. That's a pretty heavy hit, just for having a little bit of fun. So
it's a big challenge to be safe with fireworks, and that's one of the reasons why they're prohibited in the city of Des Moines. Fireworks need a lot of space. Just last year we had a significant fire where firework debris landed on somebody's roof and started their house on fire. We're trying to avoid that, and that's why fireworks are prohibited in the city. So we really encourage you to come out to some of our public displays of fireworks that are going to happen as we celebrate our nation's independence.
I think the one thing that we try to get out every year is that we just want you to be a good neighbor. You know, try and take into consideration the fact that you've got neighbors who have pets, and it's very disturbing to them to hear those fireworks. You've got neighbors who may have PTSD from, you know, service time in the military or some other experience where those loud noises and those explosions are going to cause them a lot of distress.
2021 is a little different. It's really dry outside right now. We're going to more grass fires and nuisance fires around the city because all of our grass and naturescapes are pretty dry right now. Fireworks are going to complicate that matter for us. So we really ask people to refrain from using fireworks.
There are a variety of public fireworks displays that are going to be available this year, whether it's the iCubs or some of the other neighboring communities. Check those out. It looks like we're going to have the weather that's good for that. It's always an awesome time to take your family out there, and that's what we would recommend everybody do.
We want everybody to enjoy a safe, happy, healthy 4th of July celebration. Take advantage of some of the activities that are going around the city. and be safe.
Right now.
Be careful with your grills and your cooking fires. Make sure they're appropriately put out when you're done cooking.
You know, we want everybody to have a good time. We didn't get to go out last 4th of July and enjoy the fireworks and have that fun with our families. So we want everybody to just go out and do that, but do it with safety first.
Happy 4th of July, Des Moines.
Happy 4th of July.
Okay, as soon as Connie comes back, where's Connie?
She's right there. We're good.
All right, let's reconvene. We do have, Connie wants to make a quick comment about item 29. Connie?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up what SIS has put together. I don't know if this talks about the mobile unit for a mobile shower unit and a restroom, which I think is a great facility to have for our people that are either homeless or houseless. So I also wanted to acknowledge SIS and their work on providing a storage container for people who have been moved out of some of the camps. There's now a storage container that they can put their things in, because for many of the houseless people, they have no place to put their things. So I want to thank Melissa and her team for putting that together. So with that, I'll move the item.
I just wanted to also thank SIS for being a partner in this effort. I think this is a great step forward and better service, and hopefully figure out how to get folks services they need. Reaching out to more of our street homeless population. Look forward to seeing the results of this and monitoring how it's going and if we can replicate it and what we'll learn. So
One of the stations didn't think you got enough time, so they're leaving.
All right. Thank you for the comments. I agree. Lots of good work is being done, and we support all those agencies that are doing it. Thank you.
That was 7 yes, motion carried.
All right, that brings us to the conclusion of the consent agenda. That now brings us to item 52, which ordinances first consideration. 52 is amending Chapter 114 of the Municipal Code regarding traffic regulation changes as follows. Council Communication Number 21-303. A is a parking restriction in Guthrie Avenue between East 28th Street and East 29th Street. B is parking restrictions East Broad Street, Southwest 9th Street between Southeast 8th Court and Indianola Avenue. And C are parking restrictions Crocker Street from 5th Avenue to 7th Street. Any, council, any discussion on this? These are just ordinances that we're moving forward.
I would move item 52,
A, B, and C?
A, B, and C.
All right, thank
We're
you.
going to waive the second and third reading.
Second and third reading, yes, let's waive it.
pursuant to our,
All right.
It's on there.
All right, there we go.
Stuff around the school needs to get done.
Carl?
sorry, Carl.
Do we have to do the hearing?
7 yes, motion carries.
Item 53 is a resolution expressing support of city staff. And I want to, it has been posted, it's out there, and essentially, we want to, while it was heard demands of a group of individuals for the dismissal of the city manager and the police chief, the city council hereby affirms the work of the two that they have done to improve the equitable service delivery of the department, and further affirms the work that the two have outlined for continuing that improvement, and hereby publicly state that it has confidence in both the manager and the chief, and direct each to continue their efforts to improve equitable service delivery. And Any comment, council?
I'd love to make a comment, Mayor. I appreciate you allowing this to be put on the agenda. This has been a long time coming, not only for our city manager and our police chief, but everyone that works at the city of Des Moines. The last 18 months it's been tough on everyone, and to see the public, not just criticism, but personal attacks that has been put on Scott and Chief Wingert. I think it's high time in the Des Moines Police Department and other zoning officers and everyone else that works for the city, it's high time that we stepped up as a council and be supportive of what they've been trying to do and get our city through the most trying time that we possibly have ever faced in the city of Des Moines. And so I appreciate, Scott, the hard work and the dedication you've given to the city. I mean, a lot of people would have thrown in the towel with some of the personal attacks that you guys have had. So I'm happy to move item 53. I'm glad that it's on the agenda. I appreciate legal getting this written up with the helps of others. But I appreciate the job that all of you have done and the leadership that you've shown through this very difficult time.
Any other comments?
I would just echo the same thing. You know, Scott didn't sign up to be working the kind of hours that he's working, being away from his family, and he's really had to take a lot of abuse. So I wholeheartedly support this resolution, and I think that Chief Wingert has done a very commendable job. So thank you to both of them.
All right, I believe the item's been moved.
Are we not allowed to comment?
That's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, these are hearing items now that we're moving into, items beginning with 54 and going through 74. Regular agenda items 52 through 75. 54 is changed on the conveyance of a vacated street right-of-way located at the south end and adjoining 1445 Dean Avenue to Sam K. CAD Real Estate 1 LLC for $50. 58 was changed. It's closing public hearing on the proposed 28th Amendment to the Metro Center Urban Renewal Plan, and 65 is amended, dismissing the hearing on a request from IPE 1031 REV 353 LLC to rezone 505 Sheridan Avenue from I-1 Industrial District and I-2 Industrial District to allow the current operation of the property to be considered conditional use by the Zoning Board of Adjustment for an outdoor storage yard for portable toilets as an intensive fabrication and production use at request of the applicant. And any rate, those are some changes, yes.
Okay, I'm 65. What do they want to do? Are we removing it?
Yeah, it's amending because we're dismissing the hearing on the request of those wishing to rezone.
Because they want to go to Board of Adjustment? Help me understand that.
Scott?
I believe this one was at their request, and they can bring it back if they decide they want to.
So does that mean that their open pit will be removed? Because it's been a year that we've been working on this.
Correct, because it's not allowed under the current.
Correct. So what happens now?
They would have to remove it.
And how soon do they have to remove it?
If I may,
Yes, please.
city staff has indicated that they're looking for a different location to relocate to, and at this point, they're asking for a dismissal, which we would call without prejudice, so that they could bring it back at a future time. But it's my understanding that they know that there's an enforcement action and that they will have to comply with the enforcement action.
If they intend to stay.
Correct.
Otherwise, they'll be looking for another
But
location.
we started this last August. I went back, my first email went to the city in July of 2020, and now it's taken us a whole year. So I'm concerned that the neighbors have to put up with this smell and looking right out their window to Kaibo's for another year.
No, we will get an answer this week on when the date where they would have it either removed or they would leave the property.
And that's a for sure.
Those are the two options available to them now, yes.
Okay. Okay. If somebody could follow up
I'll
with
give
me
you a
on
date.
that.
Yes,
I would like a date so we can let the property owners around there know.
I can provide that.
Okay.
Mayor, you read item 54, correct? I can move item 54? Is that?
No, I have not.
I'm sorry.
Before the hearing items, for the hearing items this evening, we have 11 zoning items, which are 59 to 69. We also have several vacation and conveyance hearings, one urban renewal hearing, an honorary name designation review, and several public improvement hearings. As a reminder, for the zoning items only, these are items 59 to 69, we will hear from the parties in interest first, and then the general public. The parties in interest include only the applicant for the rezoning and those persons living within 250 feet of the property to be rezoned, to whom the city has sent notices. After all the parties in interest have commented, we will open it up to any member of the public for a germane comment to aid in recognizing the parties in interest to speak. I will ask everyone else not to step to the microphone. We're going to ask you to raise your hand, and then we'll call on you, unless they are zoning applicants or the person who lives within that 250 feet and has received a mailed notice of the rezoning. Anyone who approaches the mic or raises their hand, if that's on a Zoom, before it is their time, will be compared with the list of those that are on that list of parties in interest, will be considered disruptive and will not be recognized for the remainder of the meeting. So please wait until I call on the general public for those zoning items, and you will, or you're not going to be called on. After all parties in interest have been called upon, the general public comment, we'd ask that anyone that wants to make germane comments not to exceed 1 minute per person, and we're going to allow 7 of those unless the hearing is ended sooner for failure of germane public comments. For the urban renewal hearing, we will take germane comments at 1 minute per person while germane comments continue, and close the hearing after comments cease or cease to be germane. For the remainder of the hearings this evening, any interested party may make germane comments at not to exceed 1 minute per person to a maximum of 5 minutes per hearing, unless the hearing is ended sooner or for a failure to make germane comments. As a reminder, on the public improvement hearings, only comments as to the plans, the specifications, the form of the documents, and the engineer's estimate, and the low bidder designation will be considered germane. All other comments will be considered non-germane unless the hearing is ended sooner for the failure to have germane comments. For the continuances, no public comment is going to be heard this evening at the meeting, and all public comments will come at the continued public hearing. We will not be taking public comments for items that dismiss or continue any public hearing. No. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll get started. Our first hearing item is item 54 on the conveyance of vacated street right-of-way south of and adjoining 1445 Dean Avenue to Sam KCAD Real Estate 1 LLC for $50. Anybody, council, want to make comment on this item?
No comments. I see no one from the audience to speak, Your Honor. I'll move item 54.
Are there any interested parties that are out here that would like to make comment? Anyone from the public want to make comment on this item? All right. Seeing none? Everyone would vote, please.
7 yes, motion carries.
All right, item 55 on the conveyance of a permanent easement for building encroachment in a portion of Waveland Golf Course located west of and adjoining 4841 Algonquin Road to Corey L. Schooley and Christine Schooley for $4,400. Council, any comments?
Just appreciative of staff for working through this issue with the Shuleys, and I'm happy to move it if we don't have comment from the public or the parties in interest.
Anyone here to make comment on this item regarding an easement? Seeing none? Call for the vote.
That's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 56. This item is to dismiss a hearing on the vacation of portions of 12th Street and Keosauqua Way, right-of-way adjoining 1201 Keosauqua Way, and a conveyance of a permanent easement for building encroachment and a permanent easement for building encroachment door swing to Ost Real Estate LLC for $11,280. Again, the motion here would be to dismiss this hearing.
I'll move item 56.
Right, anyone here to? Okay. We call for the vote. Item's been moved.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 57. On the vacation of a portion of 23rd Street right-of-way adjoining Woodland Cemetery. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above. Council, any comment on the vacation of a portion of 23rd Street?
I'm happy to move 57A, and pursuant to our rules, move to waive the second and third, assuming that we don't get any comment from the public.
All right. Yeah. All right, we've got some voting in process, but is there anyone from the public who would like to make a comment on this vacation? Seeing none, we'll complete the vote.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 58, closing the public hearing on the proposed 28th amendment to the Metro Center Urban Renewal Plan. Again, this is just a vote to close that public hearing.
I'll move item 58, Your Honor.
Yeah. All right, item 58's been moved. Does the public have any germane comments to make regarding the proposed 28th amendment to the Metro Center Urban Renewal Plan? All right, seeing none. Votes in progress.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, this takes us to the zoning items. First one is on the request from ILEX Group, Inc. for the PUD Final Development Plan of North Ridge 8035 Business Park Plat 1, and for review and approval of a preliminary North Ridge 8035 Business Park, all for property in the vicinity of 4600 East 14th Street. All right, are there any parties in interest here that would like to make a comment on this development plan?
I don't see anybody, but I would like to move item 59. And I don't know, does it call for a second or third reading? I don't see anything on my paperwork, but I'd like to waive that if it does.
No, it does not.
Anything. If you recall, this was the old Capitol Drive-In years and years ago. Cappy the Clown was at the drive-in, and it became probably in the late 70s, it was going to be Northridge Mall. And then that didn't happen, and it's been vacant, and I'm glad to see some development there. So I'm happy to move item 59.
Yep. We'll ask, are there any germane public comments on this request from ILEX Group?
Mayor, I'd just like to add one comment myself.
Yep.
Back in 1991, 92, somewhere in that time frame, I was on a committee to place where we want to put Des Moines softball and Des Moines soccer, and our first choice was out there. But at $15,000 an acre back in 91, we thought we'll be more prudent going elsewhere.
I think it's a good choice, good choice. All right, voting's in progress.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 60 is on a request from Zion Capital Group, LLC. It's the owner, represented by the Ryan Kempos, who's the officer for the following regarding the property located at 2453 East Grand Avenue to amend the Plan DSM creating our tomorrow plan future land use classification from low-density residential to neighborhood mixed use and to rezone the property from N3C Neighborhood District to RX1 Mixed Use District to allow the reuse of the existing building for mixed residential and commercial use. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above. Again, this is item 60 from Zion Capital Group. Are there any parties in interest here? Any parties in interest?
Excuse me. I see none, Your Honor.
All right, but now we have to ask for germane comments from the general public.
I apologize.
Okay. Are there any comments from the public in presence here this evening regarding this Zion Group presentation? Seeing none? Joe?
I will move item 60.
Can he waive the
And I
second
will,
and third?
at 60A, and pursuant to our rules, I will waive the second and third reading.
All right. Motion's made, voting's in progress.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, item 61 is on a request from Terrace Hill LLC to rezone property located at 2525 Grand Avenue from RX2 Mixed Use District to a limited MX3 Mixed Use District to allow the existing building to be considered for a conditional use approval by the Zoning Board of Adjustment for a bar associated with a reuse of the property for a hotel. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above. We're going to ask first if there are any parties in interest here this evening on this project. Either the applicant or anybody living within 250 feet of this that has received notice. All right, seeing none, I'll ask if there's any germane comments from the general public regarding this request. Anybody? Seeing none, okay, council, do we have a motion?
Yeah, seeing none, I'll move item 61, 61A, and pursuant to council rules, I'll move to waive the second and third reading. I know the folks at the Avenues are excited to see this project move forward.
All right, voting's in progress.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carried.
Item 62 is on a request from Greg Lorang and Elisa Sirgonata to amend Plan DSM, creating our future land use designation for property located at 1235 43rd Street from low-density residential within a community node to a low-medium density residential within a community node to allow rezoning to an N52 Neighborhood District to allow use of the property for an accessory household unit dwelling, subject to conditions that the site plan must come back to the commission for review and approval. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by Greg Lorang, who's the owner, and requires 6 votes. Ask first if there's any parties in interest. That would be the applicant or any of the property owners within 250 feet that have received notice. Anyone? Right, seeing none, would ask now if there's the general public, if there's any germane comments to this request. Anybody in the audience to do that? Seeing none?
Hearing none, Mayor. I'm going to move 62, 62A, and 62B. This was brought to me by Brad Anderson, the AARP Director for Iowa. And I think we're going to be seeing quite a few more of these as the population ages and people don't want to be separated from their parents. This is going to be an excellent addition so that we can keep families together and not have the pain of having separation in there. So, again, I'll move 62, 62A, and 62B.
All right, any comment, anybody?
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I think this is a great model. Accessory dwelling units are something that's very much needed. There's a lot of support in the community. One thing that I would like to see is we discuss, I know we have some zoning code changes later on the agenda, and I know that's a first step, but as we discuss future changes, I think we could expand the number of places in our community where accessory dwelling units are allowed by right so that they don't have to come before planning and zoning and council like this.
I agree.
And so I would love to see that happen going forward and to talk more about how we can take the next steps to make accessory dwelling units more accessible in more places.
Okay, voting's in progress.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries. Your Honor, I want to remind everyone to make sure they're unmuting themselves. They're forgetting, and it's important that we hear you.
Okay. Item 63, on a request from Gorka Brothers, Inc., is the lessee to amend Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow future use designation from neighborhood mixed use to community mixed use to allow for rezoning of property located at 2829 Easton Boulevard from MX1 to MX3 mixed-use district to allow the existing building to be considered for a conditional use approval by the Zoning Board of Adjustment for a business selling alcoholic liquor. Choose alternative A or B. A is to deny, or B is to continue to July 19th, 2021 to prepare the necessary legislation to approve. Any comment, council? Hearing none, we'll first ask, are there any parties in interest here that would like to speak on this request? Anyone within 250 feet? Again, a party in interest. Seeing none, any germane comments from the general public?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With that, I would like... Got it up. With that, I would like to move 63A, which is to deny.
Okay. Voting's in progress.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, that takes us to item 64. It's on a request from Legacy Park LLC to rezone property located at 1315 and 1325 9th Street and 1322 and 1332 8th Street from N5 Neighborhood District to N5-2 neighborhood district to allow the use of the property for 2 household residential structures, including rebuilding the following destruction due to a fire. The A is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by Russ Frazier, president of Legacy Park LLC, Anawim Housing General Partner, and requires 6 votes. Let's go ahead and open it up and ask if there are any parties in interest, either the applicant or anyone living within 250 feet of this property in the chamber. Seeing none, any comments from the general public regarding this request from Legacy Park? All right, seeing none.
Mr. Mayor, I will move 64A and 64B. This has been kind of a bad situation. It's been sitting vacant for quite some time. Now we can rejuvenate some life back into it. And I will say this, Rush and Anawim do a lot of good work for affordable housing, so that's going to help out the neighborhood quite a bit.
All right, the item's been moved. Voting's in place.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 65, this one is dismissing a hearing on a request from IPE 1031 REV 553 LLC to rezone 505 Sheridan Avenue from I-1 Industrial District to I-2 Industrial District to allow the current operation of the property to be considered for conditional use by the Zoning Board of Adjustment for an outdoor storage yard for portable toilets as an intensive fabrication and production use. Again, this is dismissing this hearing. We'll ask first if there's any parties in interest that are in the chamber this evening. Either the applicant or anyone living within 250 feet. Any comments from the general public? Okay, seeing none. Linda?
I would move to dismiss item 65.
All right, item has been moved. Begin the vote.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 66 is continuing the hearing on a request from Oscar and Enrique Centento to amend the Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow future land use classification for 2354 East Grand Avenue from neighborhood mixed use to community mixed use district, and to rezone from MX1 mixed use district to MX3 mixed use district to allow ongoing operation of a minor vehicle maintenance repair use on the property. The Plan and Zoning Commission recommends denial. This was continued from June 14th of 2021, and they are asking to continue now to July 19th of 2021. Quickly, I don't think that we need any comments.
No, Mayor, we've got some details we still need to work out, so I'll move items.
All right, voting's in progress.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 67 is on a city-initiated request to rezone property located at 2014 and 2016 East Ovid Avenue from P1 Public, Civic, and Institutional District to I1 Industrial District to allow the existing buildings to continue as conforming professional office, warehouse, and vehicle maintenance repair uses. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above. B is a final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by the Neighborhood Services Department Director and requires 6 votes. Ask if there's, again, any parties in interest on this request. Anyone? either the applicant or anyone living within 250 feet. All right, I'll ask now if there's any germane comment from the general public regarding this city-initiated request. Seeing none,
I will make the motion to move this item with A and B. And I just want to thank the property owners who have really been patient with this as we work to change this zoning. And I think this is a very good example of what happened when we changed our zoning classifications in 2019. This is a property that got caught into that, and we zoned it incorrectly. We changed it, and then they went to sell their property and ran into all kinds of problems. So I do appreciate that the city did work fairly quickly to get it taken care of, and I do appreciate the property owners working with this. So, item 67A and B.
item has been moved. Voting is taking place.
Thanks.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 68 is on a request from On Point Investments LLC to amend Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow future land use designation for property located at 2406 Woodland Avenue from low-density residential in a neighborhood node to a medium-density residential in a neighborhood node to rezone from N5 Neighborhood District to N52 Neighborhood District to allow the use of the property for a two-household living dwelling. And A is the first consideration of the ordinance above. I'll ask first if there are any parties of interest in the audience. Sir?
Your Honor, city staff and council, I appreciate you being here tonight. My name is Mitch Caluzzi. I live at 2421 High Street. I also own the property at 2406 Woodland Avenue. I'd like to speak to you just briefly as to why we'd like to convert this to a duplex. Its former use was a fourplex in this neighborhood. We acquired it in 2014. The layout did not lend itself to being used as a very efficient fourplex. With new city initiatives, including the pass-through doorways, as well as separating shared forced air systems, it made good sense to reduce this down to a duplex. There is some resistance to using it as a duplex versus single family, but frankly, it's not economical to convert this. This year, we requested a density reduction and were granted that. We have a fully issued permit. At that time, we gutted the interior, and it was later turned out that the zoning was erroneous for that. So that was an oversight by both myself as well as city staff, and we're working to amend that so that we can move forward with this project. We do have a track record in the community. I do live in the community. We've done 11 properties in this neighborhood, and I intend to put this back to be a very useful and beneficial property for this neighborhood. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Cluzy?
I've got a...
Yeah, I guess my concern after talking to some of the neighbors was the parking, because right now it's gravel in front, and I don't think we want cars parked in front yards of homes. So what is the situation going to be, and how are you going to deal with the parking?
We are working with city staff to propose once rezoned, we would work with city staff to propose the site plan that makes sense to do as much as we can to bring that in conformance. The site plan on this property, there is a substantial drop to get to that rear yard, and the alleyway that existed when this property was built has been abandoned. So rear access is not possible to this. There's not a whole lot of setback. However, we do have enough parking off-street, and we believe in the side yards to get it at least out of that front yard and absolutely off the street of Woodland.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the way that I understand that, you have no intention of paving a driveway?
Oh, I apologize. We are absolutely paving it. Yes, sir. Fully compliant, fully updated. everything that we can do, including
Okay.
concrete. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's helpful.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other parties of interest, in interest within 250 feet? Seeing none, let's ask, are there any germane comments to be made from the general public? We'd ask you to come to the microphone at this time.
My name is Lila Dozier. I live at 741 27th Street, and I've been with the Woodland Heights organization for 40 years. And some of you already know I have strong feelings on this proposal. Mitch Caluzzi knows I have strong feelings on this proposal. He's honest with me. I'm honest with him. He knew I would be here. He's done good work in the neighborhood. We just have total different opinions on this structure. This started, as far as the neighborhood organization, we reported it vacant in the fall of 2019. And it had already been, the demo had already started. I talked with Cody Christensen, reported it. We'd already discussed it at a Woodland Heights meeting, and it slipped through the cracks. And so a permit was issued. But then they didn't retract it. They just told Mitch that work should stop. But it went through your system and mistakes were made. Is that all the time I get? You're kidding.
Yeah, we get. Could you just tell us what your quick?
Well, as you read in your packet, the Woodland Heights organization was opposed. We sent that letter to P&C. We sent you another opposition letter to P&C. I mean, to you guys. I mean, it's not just me. I know that I'm the only one that was stupid enough or crazy enough or...
This is over parking, Lila? Or what is it over?
It's more than parking, and yes, we know we're going to have parking problems.
Okay,
because there is not adequate.
It was a
there is not
fourplex,
adequate on-street parking. And Sue Donovan knows that. She was at the staff meeting. You can't use 24th Street. Connie knows that.
Okay.
Josh knows that.
All right.
Okay.
I think we've got it.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else for germane comments? All right. Seeing none?
And I don't know that we've actually met before, but I've walked by a lot of your properties in the neighborhood, and I do think you guys have a great track record for the improvements that you've made in the housing stock in Woodland Heights. I'll also say, I think, from the neighborhood perspective, we're accomplishing a piece of what they want. There is a density reduction at this property. It has previously been a fourplex. But I also think that the level of density that is proposed is appropriate for this property. And we've seen, and there are other properties on Woodland that have similar densities farther west. But there is some level of that density in the Woodland Heights neighborhood. And it is good to have that middle housing that this project will provide. And I think the track record of the developer makes this appropriate. So I'm happy to move items 68 and 68A.
Any other comment?
Josh, can we waive the second and third reading on this? Would you?
I would certainly be okay, and pursuant to our rules, I'd add that to my motion to waive the second and third reading.
Terrific, thanks.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Mitch, I will say that the intent here, I think, is hopefully that you can work out this parking problem, and because I drove by that place last night, and you don't need to make comment, but we just need to work through those because the neighborhood deserves it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it, Mitch.
Thank you.
Item 69, which is on a request from Flumerfelt Eagle Point LLC, is the owner, represented by Mike Flumerfelt, is the officer, for property located in the vicinity of 1985 East Army Post Road to amend the planned DSM creating our tomorrow plan future land use classification from medium density residential to business park for a portion of the property to the north of the requested rezoning area, to approve a large-scale development plan for the site redevelopment of 18.5 acres for a mobile home park expansion, and to rezone the property from EX Mixed Use District to NM Neighborhood District to allow the use of the property for a mobile home park. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above, and B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by Mike Flumerfelt, who's the officer, and requires 6 votes. Let's quickly ask, are there any parties in interest? Again, is the applicant here? Yes, sir. Would you step up, please, sir?
I'll make a motion to receive and file as handouts, Your Honor.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition?
So my name is Mike Flummerfeld. Do I need my address stated? No. So first of all, I'd like to thank you for serving the community. I think today we forget to say thank you. So thank you for what you're doing. So I own Flummerfeld Homes. I've been in business for over 30 years. Iowa guy, Iowa born and bred, Cyclone grad, and I've been in this industry for over 30 years. I own and manage and develop manufactured home communities, mainly in Story County. I've had communities in Polk County, and I'm excited about my development we're doing on Indianola Road right now. So, yeah, I never want to miss an opportunity to say something positive about manufactured housing, and this is certainly that. I strongly feel we provide, affordable, quality, energy-efficient housing, for a segment and a great demographic of our population. I want to thank P&D staff, for supporting this. They've been easy to work with and very responsive. I've had several positive comments, from neighbors in the area. I've been very proactive. Obviously we had the neighborhood meeting that staff required, but then I also was proactive and went and knocked on as many doors as I could. There's a cluster of homes that butt up at this property. Everybody that was there, we visited with several of them, and if they weren't home, I left this packet on their door along with my contact information. And so, so I've got to know the neighbors. I've had a business there on Army Post Road for over 30 years, my manufacturing home sales center that butts up to this property. So we're excited about it, and I think it would be a great use for this little piece of land. So any questions I can?
Any quick questions? Mike?
Yeah, and then this package is an example, and has pictures of my latest development that I've built. So it has an example of a clubhouse and homes that we place for people, our customers, residents, our neighbors.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other individuals who would be recognized as parties in interest, those within 250 feet of this proposed development? Seeing none, any comments from the general public regarding this development? Anybody? All right, Joe?
Mr. Mayor, there's a site that's already being cleared by Mr. Flummerfelt to I'm not sure how many homes are going to be going into that parcel, but it's quite a few. It makes me nervous that we're condensing like all of the affordable housing that we can possibly do in one area, and so I'm struggling to to approve something like this. I'll just be honest with you. This is the first I've heard of it. The first I got this packet today. I got it just a few hours ago in an email. I guess it was this morning that we finally had gotten something. But it's the first discussion that I've had. And I actually haven't ever met Mike, but I struggle with this. I know the neighbors. I know that he's talked to, there's about 3 houses that butt up there, but there's a very, very large neighborhood, Easter Lake neighborhood, 3 Lakes Estate, that's right across the street from there, that are not in favor of expanding that. As I drove by many times watching you clear that, I was like, wow, what a perfect place to put a nice residential housing development there. I mean, we've got challenges when you add this many homes, schools. I don't think that they've been notified is one of the things that come to mind first off. When we, a concentration of that many homes in one area that quick can overrun a school, and I think that we just need a better planning. And so I'll look at Scott. I've had discussions with Aaron. For that entire area, I'd like to take a look at a master plan of how we're going to address some of the needs. There's a lot of green space out there. I know I've talked to some of my colleagues that are sitting up here that we really need to take a look at what exactly is our goal out there. Sewer, water, roads, land use, parks, libraries, schools, public safety, all of the above needs to be addressed out there because we have quite a bit of really good developmental land that's in that area that we need to make sure that we're doing it right. I believe that it's a $5 to $7 million road project on Indianola Road that we're going to be doing. We're investing in that area, but are we investing the right way, and what are we doing correctly? And so I'd look at you, Scott, to come back with this. I won't support this. I don't know, Carol, do you want me to make a motion to deny it, or do you just want me not to make a motion at all and see if someone else wants to move it?
Sir, could I respond to some of those comments?
Sure, if you'd like, or we can sit down and have a cup of coffee and you can respond on a one-on-one basis, but I'd be happy to hear what you got to say.
First of all, in the current development that I'm building, there's a 40-acre piece, and that's not what we're discussing tonight. This is an 18-acre piece that is behind Army Post that adjoins the current manufactured home community and my current development for manufactured home community. My lots that I'm developing currently are much oversized than the city requires. So I'd like to make that comment. My largest lots are going to be, from memory, 105 by 85 feet. And so those are very nice lots. They'll accompany nice large garages. So we have nice concrete streets. We're going to have a clubhouse. We have a storm facility for our residents. We have 4 different lot sizes to accommodate different sizes of homes. When I did have my neighborhood meeting, I did not have a great turnout, and even though I sent out, I think, over 70 invitations, I think some of that was due to me knocking on doors and visiting with neighbors in that cluster of homes. But one of the 2 people that did come was the homeowners association president, and that was in my report back to staff, the association he represented. He showed up and we had a very pleasant conversation. And I guess maybe he wasn't the person that came that you visited with, but he was very positive. He said he would support the project and thought it was a very good use for that particular piece of ground. It's kind of buried back in behind, Army Post, where it won't interfere with the current.
I think the struggle that I would have is you're developing 40 acres of these homes before you do the other 18 acres. So now we're talking about 60 acres of manufactured homes in one area, not to mention all the other manufactured homes that are already on County Line Road and concentrated in one area of our city.
Yeah. I think the other thing to remember, this does not fill up anything like an apartment building. I mean, I'm thinking, so this piece we're talking about today would be the last phase
Yeah, I
of
understand.
the project. And so we would work our way to that. Right now, we're putting in 68 lots. You know, I'm thinking I will be lucky, you know, if I can do 68 homes in 3-4 years.
Well, then maybe after the other acres that you develop, and we'll see how that goes on Indianola, because there's no way that that we have any say on what you do in those other acres. Maybe we'll take a look at that other land at that point in time. But right now, and I'm only one vote. I won't support what you're doing there. And if I could, I wouldn't support the 40 acres either.
Well, that 40 is already zoned.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and you know, I understand that, you know, unfortunately, manufactured housing has not had some very popular media support from some of the people in this room. Unfortunately, you know, they fail to report on the hundreds of positive stories and the neighbors that live in my neighborhoods that we can discuss. And so, you know, these are people that live in your community that are looking for quality, affordable, energy efficient housing. And you know, I'm a local person that does it the right way, and to have this zone now would be positive for me for my future planning. You know, so I mean, I'm thinking, I mean, this could be a 20-year project before I even get there, but I need to know if it's going to be zoned or not, you know, so I can continue to plan my development. And
Well,
I think that's reasonable.
If you're working on the 40 acres and you're telling me that, how long is that going to take to fill up?
Well,
You
I
said
mean,
maybe
you
10
know,
years?
It might take me, you know, 4 years, 5 years.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
I'd really like to take a look at that development before I could be supportive of it. I won't support any other expansion of what
And
we
when
got.
you
So
say-
we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and I
All right,
certainly appreciate-
anybody have any more questions of Mike? Mike, thank you. We appreciate your input.
Okay.
And you've already got that other piece down there too, Mike, don't you?
Yes.
That looks to be about 20 acres or more?
No, 40 acres.
Half of this piece is that piece. You know, so the piece I currently own, you know, the front piece is on Army Post where I have my sales center. And in the back portion of that ground is the piece that I would join with the piece that adjoins my current piece that we're talking about rezoning tonight.
Well,
yeah, but you've got 40 acres that you're going to move into and you're developing now that may take 4 to 10 years or whatever you said. And then, but you've already got a piece that is already developed, right, with mobile homes on it?
No, sir. No, sir.
What is that piece that's not outlined? That's somebody else's?
No, the piece on Army Post right now is a manufactured home sales center that I've had there for approximately 30
He
years.
sells them there.
Whose is this?
Yeah.
What's the west of what you're developing?
I'm sorry?
What's to the west of
There's
what you're
another
developing now?
To the west that I'm developing?
Yeah, of the 40 acres.
There's, you know, I don't have a piece west of my.
No, but someone else does. Correct.
Yeah, there's no new development there.
No.
What is it?
Oh, it's west of the piece we're talking about, the 18 acres?
No, the 40.
Of my 40? It's a manufactured home community.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
been there for, 40.
I know, and
Yeah.
that was to my point, sir, that it's a concentration of
homes that people
of manufactured homes that we're going to put there. And you know, if you were coming to us doing the 18 acres and not the 40 acres right off of your property, we might be thinking differently of our conversation.
Right.
But since you're going to do 40 acres on top of whatever is existing there, for me, I can't support that, and neither can any of my residents that live over there.
Yeah, and I wish they would have come to my meeting that they were invited to, but they didn't.
Well, I think you had the meeting during still quite a bit of COVID and some of those things, but I appreciate your comment.
But this piece of ground is kind of buried back in behind. I mean, it's really a struggle about what this ground would be used for.
Yeah.
And all the comments I got from the neighbors, I mean, even the people that live right butting it, you know, in the residential homes, I had a one-on-one with them, and they're like, it seems like the reasonable use for that ground.
Maybe city staff should have talked to you about the 40 acres that you've graded and you want to put homes there. Maybe that could have been a perfect place for residential homes, and then we could have talked about the 18 acres. But what you're doing there with the 40 acres and attached already to an existing manufactured home park, I can't do
I guess
that.
my last comment would be, I know we need to continue to move on. These are homes.
Yeah, no, I understand what they are.
And these are your neighbors and my neighbors that
Yep.
live there. And we have a great demographic of people that look to this housing. And so I think, I'd love to have a sit down with you, but I hope we find a positive comments tonight, to pass this, because it is strictly just homes. When you say you would prefer a housing neighborhood there, in my world, and the people that I see and talk to and knock on doors every day and walk in my office, these are their homes. And
No doubt about that.
Yeah,
It's
these
just
are
a
their homes.
concentration of so many of the same homes in one area.
But I think
we wouldn't do that anywhere else in the city.
Yeah, sure you do.
Okay.
No disrespect, sir, but you look across any neighborhood, as I drive there's a concentration of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of site-built homes that people live in on their own property.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just a different form of housing. And, this is their American dream. This is the home that they live in. And so I think that's the perception we need to understand.
Joe would entertain.
And a lot of times this is their first choice of housing.
No, I'm not.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right, you've got a motion?
I can make a motion to deny if Carol says that's okay.
You can act on the hearing, or there's also a possibility for a motion to continue as well.
Can I?
There's no
Bring up
request, so we could vote
Somebody
to
else.
deny, right?
Correct. I would offer to continue, only because I think we need more information. I'd also like to make sure that schools, to your point, this is one reason I ran, is because developments are going in, schools didn't have space. I think we need, and to your point of really doing a complete plan for that whole southeast side where there's a lot of land. What is our master plan going to be? Let's revisit it. If it's right off Army Post Road, I don't think there's a direct entrance, but is that, we want housing or is it more commercial? Those are a lot of things. I think we need to look at a master plan in a greater way. And I would be very concerned, because I know that most of those schools out there are very crowded already, that we understand whether it, I'm pretty sure it's Des Moines School District on it, their boundaries, or even if it's Carlisle, they're having the same issue probably. So I think we need to make sure that we're adequately covering all the needs of the people that might possibly be living there. So I would move to continue so that we get more information as the layout, or we can,
Continue to when?
Well,
I would like to continue until, so that we could do a master plan. So.
Yeah, well, and the problem is the 40 acres is already going to be built.
Oh, right, yeah, that is there.
So, I mean, he's building
If you're, but
40 acres.
let me just put that, having spent a little time on planning and zone and knowing what it takes to do we may be talking about a year. You're going to have continue to a date specific. So what are you talking about?
I'm not looking to continue anything because we're already doing 40 acres of these homes, which are great. I'm not saying these aren't great, but we're doing
I'm just offering
40
that.
acres of these already.
If it would take a year, I would do it a year. So we have.
And I'm sorry that I don't have, but
think
my
that's
understanding is that the hearing would have to be between 4 and
right.
20 days.
Okay, that's fine.
And
I
so
would
that's
just-
going to be the issue.
At this time, I would probably agree with Joe and
Joe's
then
got a
go
motion, I believe. Correct?
I just moved to deny.
All right.
That's my motion.
It's been moved. Voting's in process.
Just wait, before voting for process,
So-
clarification. Can you move to deny?
Can I move to deny that, Carol? That's why I asked you.
So my understanding is that you're being asked to act on this hearing, and the hearing is to consider whether you want to approve the zoning change. And as I understand your motion, you're indicating that you do not want to approve the zoning change, which you have the ability to do.
Okay.
Okay. So if we vote yes, we're voting to deny.
Right.
Yes.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 70, on a request by Angela Young, who's a resident, to provide an honorary name to Dr. Bobby Young Avenue to a segment of Washington Avenue between 16th Street and Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway to honor the Reverend Dr. Bobby Young, neighborhood resident and longtime community advocate, with addressing and wayfinding retaining the name of Washington Avenue. Item 70, open it up to the general public and see if there's anyone who would like to offer any germane comments to this item. Yes, please. Which one of you? You choose. Okay, there we go. Go ahead.
My name is Angela Young, and I want to talk more about Dr. Bobby Young. He is a very strong advocate for individuals, for family, for community. He is a man of high integrity. He chooses and he strives for community development, for community betterment and education. This man has taken inmates after incarceration, and he's helped them with counseling, with food, shelter, housing assistance. He is a man that has been appreciated, honored in the city, touched the lives of many people for years in Des Moines and across the state of Iowa. This is a man that is indeed worthy of this honor, and he has proven it. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
To the mayor, to the council, my name is Akeo Abdul Samad. Am I supposed to get my address? Would I do that?
We know where to find him.
That's scary. But okay. But anyway, I'm in support of item number 70, not only because of Dr. Young and the work that he's put in the community, but because we live in an area that is not recognition, especially of people of color. There's not recognition, there's not development for people of color. And we need to start identifying that area, so that we can start putting some businesses in there and other entities in there to help provide employment. This with Dr. Young, naming it gets young people, a sense of caring, a sense of identity, and we need to start doing that in this area. Whenever, a lot of times we name a street, it's after somebody's dead. This is time we want to give our flowers, especially to our community leaders while they're alive and while they're doing the struggle. And that's very important. He has 3 houses on that block. One he built himself from the ground up. That's his commitment to that neighborhood. We're not asking to actually take off the name, or that, but to add his name to that. Because it's time that we put pride and that we put neighbor back into the hood. Tired of it referred to as a hood.
Yeah.
Or the name or side.
Akeo, thank you.
You just gave that man. Okay. We got to get the bells and rings for everybody.
Thank you. All right, any other speakers? All right, seeing none.
Mayor, I'm going to move item 70. Angela, I got the packet that Sue Ann Donovan sent to me. That was a pretty powerful package. It was very well put together. I can't believe what your father had put all these things in a short, compact lifestyle. It was phenomenal. And then I see Akeo's name splattered in there too. That was impressive in its own right. And Akeo, I agree with you 100%. We need to put some people of color, get some streets in their name, get the community together to rally behind it and do some economic development in there. All this is fantastic. It was great to see. I'm glad Sue Ann came to me and pointed this out to me. I hope long after I leave this earth, this name will still be on the street. So thank you for bringing this forward, and I'll be very happy to move item 70.
All right, item 70. Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking on item number 70, I think that...
Your name, please?
Oh, you know my name, Frank.
No, we need it for the record.
Jalen Cabell.
Thank you, Jalen.
Speaking on item 70, following the words of Akeo and and Angela Young. I think that this is a good move. I don't personally know Dr. Bobby Young, but it sounds like he has done a lot of amazing work in the community, and I think it's important that we honor folks in the community, especially black folks in the community who are doing good work. So I just want to speak in support of that. I think that this is a good move, but also just want to point out, how just the reaction of the way that y'all will accept, something like as easy and symbolic as a street name change, but when it comes to actual systemic issues or really addressing the problems that black people in this community are facing, you turn the other way. So just think it's important that we all see the difference there and how, some of these easy things that are more symbolic and performative.
To the issue?
Yeah, like this. I think it's important, but I also think it is performative in a sense, and I think that we need to be doing real things to address the issues that black people are facing in this city. Thanks.
Come ahead.
Reverend Emily Ewing, my pronouns are they, them, theirs. Affirming what Jalen said, I think that this is a really important symbolic step to change the name of a street, to get more names of people of color on streets. It would be also great to back that up, to support the work that Reverend Dr. Bobby Young was doing, to support people of color rather than supporting the police in their racist and violent attacks on us. This is particularly as we approach one-year anniversaries, the work of Reverend Dr. Bobby Young is important. The one-year anniversaries of the trauma inflicted upon the people of Des Moines by racist and violent police attacks needs to be addressed. And again, you are not addressing it. Thank you.
Come ahead.
My name is Taylor Weber. Pronouns are he, him, his, Southside resident. I'd just like to echo the words spoken. Don't personally know Father as well, but the work and impact he's had in the community is well deserved of the naming of a street. Let alone maybe he deserves the actual name of the street instead of just a superficial name on top. I think his work shows that the impact he's had all around the state. I think your actions tonight, I will also echo the other comments made, show that it's very superficial. I think that we need to do work in the community that is impactful in the community and makes real change. There's a lot of zoning issues on the books here tonight. How many of them did you make the priority of people of color, of minorities, of low income, working families that are trying to make ends meet in a city that is represented by people that seem to see them less and less and less? I think this is great, and we should name the street tomorrow and name another one the next day, but unless we're going to continue on this path to actually do the work of the city, of the people as they're asking to be heard throughout this meeting, would show that that was not the case. And unless you're going to change and do something real in the community.
Right, your time is up. Thank you.
I think that you guys should re-examine that this is all you're doing for the representation in this community.
Thank you. Okay. We have a motion.
That's correct. I move item 70.
Voting's in process.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 71, on intent to commence a public improvement project to construct the Southwest 9th Street Bridge replacement over the South Middle Creek project, to authorize the acquisition of necessary property interest, including agricultural land, Council Communication number 21-292. Are there any germane comments related to this bridge project?
Hi, I'm Frida Beckwith. I live in Ward 1. I'm concerned with some of the plans to acquisition the agricultural land and other land around there. I'm not sure if y'all are aware, but there are several houseless encampments in that area under that bridge and around that bridge. And I'm very concerned for their safety and their well-being as this project moves forward, because if y'all are going to treat them like you've been treating the other houseless residents of the city, you're just going to violently remove them, destroy their property, bulldoze what they own, and just leave it. There's just garbage after you bulldoze it.
This is a public improvement.
Yeah, and I'm concerned that part of your idea of improving the public is removing those camps. If you're acquiring land around the Southwest 9th Bridge without being specific about what is going to happen to the people who live there.
This is not relevant, and if you listen to the earlier part of the meeting, we are working very hard so that people, that we can get them
but the cops were
on
preventing me from
there.
entering the chambers. They were physically holding the doors back, so I couldn't get in here to listen to the earlier part of the public meeting.
You could certainly,
I could certainly get in. I couldn't get in the doors. They were holding the doors shut.
this is
I was
about
trying
the
to open
public
them.
improvement. Do you have any comment about the public
I
improvement?
gave my comment on the public improvement.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move item 71.
Item 71 has been moved. Voting's in progress.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 72 is on a proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance and planning and design ordinance. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above. It's Chapter 134. B is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waivers requested by Neighborhood Services Department and Development Services Department and requires 6 votes. D on that is the first consideration of the ordinance above, Chapter 135, and D is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waivers requested by Neighborhood Services Department and Development Services Department requires 6 votes. An ordinance to amend the municipal code of the city of Des Moines by amending the specific sections, tables, figures of Chapter 134 zoning ordinance by replacing all references to community development with neighborhood services, and by standardizing, formatting, and numbering throughout Chapter 134 and adding and enacting new sections of 134. All is explained in detail in the captured ordinance and is fully set forth in the ordinance text and summary on file. So anyone, we hope that is interested could read that. And an ordinance to amend the municipal code of the city of Des Moines by amending specific sections, tables, and figures of Chapter 135, planning and design ordinance by replacing all references to community development with, again, neighborhood services, and by standardizing, formatting, and numbering throughout Chapter 135 by adding and enacting new sections of 135, all as explained in detail in the captioned ordinance, again, fully set forth in the ordinance text and the summaries on file. So, anybody have any germane comments on this?
From the public or from the...
You have one? We have one person. Hand up.
He has no problem. Against the rules. I'm concerned about her.
I was standing as a white supremacist media organization, not a legitimate media organization. She has no trespass. Take it down.
Are you going to do anything about the person without the press pass, just to clarify?
He's recognized as media.
Where's the press pass? Reverend Emily Ewing, they, them pronouns. I am concerned about item 72. This is changing something that Linda Westergaard has tried to get around before, and we've seen at meetings, by removing the requirements for the sidewalk installation. It is vital that the city of Des Moines support the safety of kids and the accessibility of everyone here on sidewalks. We've already had a very long discussion led by Linda Westergaard about why sidewalks are a hassle, but sidewalks provide accessibility. They let wheelchair users move about the city, the people of Des Moines to move about the city, the people that you are supposed to be doing the work of. Saying that, oh, we can add waivers and waivers and waivers means that people will not be able to access the places they need, the bus stops they need. Kids will be walking in the street when they get off and on school buses. Their blood will be on your hands. You already are making city council meetings inaccessible. You don't need to work on making and keeping the city of Des Moines inaccessible.
Again, Taylor Weber, pronouns he, him, his. I live on the south side as well. I don't have any sidewalks on my streets. The streets around me don't have any sidewalks. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. 5-year-old's learning to ride a bike, training wheels, getting there pretty good. We ride in the street because we don't have another option from our home. I think understanding when you have a point of privilege because you're able to have opinions that sidewalks aren't important is something that you really need to re-examine and understand that not everyone in the community feels that way. I can see by the look on Scott and Joe's faces, they don't really feel that pain much with others around the community. They must not drive up 9th Street and watch people as they have to step into the street constantly because they're unable to make their way either from their home, place of employment, whatever that might be. I think it's really disappointing that you've worked really hard on getting accessible access across the city, and to see that that's going to go away just because we think it's hard and a little more difficult to service people and help them in ways that we know that they need help all across the city is really unfortunate. I think, as you saw, the amount of money you've already outlined for different items in your agenda today, there's plenty of money in the budget.
Okay, your time's up. Can you summarize real quick?
Yeah, I got you. I'm doing it right now. I really would appreciate if you guys voted no on this item to actually make sure that you're hearing the voices of the community and hearing the complaints of the community, not just the people that are able to make money in your guys' eyes so that you guys can continue to decide what's important for others. So I really wish you would vote no on this item.
All right, your time is up. Thank you.
Mayor, thank you. It's interesting, 7 years ago when I sat down here that nobody talked about sidewalks. And I've lived on the south side for 54 years, and nobody talked about sidewalks. There was no sidewalks around House School. There was no sidewalks for kids to get where they needed to go safely until we made it a priority here at this council with these colleagues here. And so as we go forward, this ordinance lays out specifically in the middle of an industrial area where you're adding a sidewalk to nowhere. It makes absolutely zero sense to do that. So as you read this ordinance, you might be able to take a look at it and see what it says and to see, but I love that everyone has stepped up and got on the sidewalk bandwagon because excuse me, I'm speaking right at the moment. I allowed you to speak, and so now I get to speak.
And we don't allow disruptions from the audience, and we made that very clear at the front end. You'd probably heard that, right? Go ahead.
So as we move forward, it's great to have community involvement, and I know that's something that we've all wanted to work on, and we've put our money where our mouth is on sidewalks, and we're going to continue to do that, and we might actually, in the coming weeks, move that timeline up to get more sidewalks in our city. So I'll let some of my other colleagues talk about that because I know they feel the same way that I do.
Yeah, Linda?
Thank you. I just want to address the sidewalk issue. Sidewalks are very important to us. We've made that a priority along school routes, or along bus routes. That's exactly what we're doing. I don't think everybody has read the actual ordinance. This came about because we have people in our city that are building affordable housing. They are providing housing in our community for people to live in, and this is affordable housing, such as NFC, such as Home Inc. They're using infill lots that have been vacant lots for years, and they're putting homes on there so somebody actually has a home. Now, if there are sidewalks on both sides, of course they're going to put sidewalks in. That's not what this ordinance says. This ordinance says that when it doesn't seem reasonable, when it's a sidewalk to nowhere, then that developer will be allowed to waive the right to put a sidewalk in. But in later time, if we do put sidewalks in along there, then they would agree that they would have to come back and put sidewalks in. So it's just too bad that you didn't take time to read the ordinance and read what is happening, because we are working hard to provide housing that people can afford. To add a sidewalk, that means that in most cases, a young family or an elderly person that moves into this house, it's going to cost probably $16,000 more to add that sidewalk. So we're doing what makes sense. And this makes sense so our affordable housing partners can continue to build houses in Des Moines in these infill lots. And that is what this is about. Every new community will have sidewalks, but it's infill lots. It's infill lots that nobody has been willing to build on. Thank you.
Josh?
Thank you, Mayor. I did want to address the sidewalk issue because I started out with some concern about the way it was written, but I wanted to talk with staff to better understand exactly what was going on, because I'm grateful that this council has been committed to filling our sidewalk gaps, particularly our priority one sidewalk gaps, the gaps that we know connect to schools and provide safe routes to schools, connect to our public transit system and provide a safe route to transit. And I'm appreciative of the commitment that everyone up here has shown to those priority one sidewalks. I hope we'll have a conversation going forward about how we can hopefully accelerate those priority one sidewalks. One of the things, as I've been talking with staff to try and understand how we can do priority one sidewalks quicker, is that we've started with some of the easier priority one sidewalks where we have right of way, where it doesn't require things like retaining walls or more significant design changes to make that priority one sidewalk work. One of the things that this ordinance change does that I think ultimately helps facilitate those priority one sidewalks is it allows for a deferral on some of those priority one sidewalks. They have to go through staff. It's not a guarantee of that deferral, but it allows for a deferral so they don't have to build it until we've done actual design work. What that will do is it will prevent, for example, if we decide that the priority one sidewalk is going to be designed differently once we have the full section and are looking at the full section, those dollars won't have been spent on something that we then take out and reconstruct. It will be used most efficiently. It's not going to delay. It will allow us to work with staff to do that piece of the project better and more efficiently, because it's about getting that sidewalk in place. We're still completely committed to the priority one sidewalks. The issue of the waiver is for the priority two or priority three sidewalks. And while I have some concern with that, I also understand why that is happening in some cases. And that is in instances, and staff gave me an example of a sidewalk where there was an infill house. I don't know that it was an affordable infill house, but there was no sidewalk for multiple blocks in all directions. And that would not be in our priority list. Likely if the city, even if we continue with the funding level that we have today, it's 20, 30, 40 years before the city would be installing sidewalks on that road. The life of the sidewalk would have come and gone before we build sidewalks on either side of it. And in that case, I will leave it up to staff. We've had those come forward and waivers have been granted. In that case, I think it is appropriate to be a little bit more flexible. That doesn't demean or diminish the priority that we place on sidewalks, but it makes us a little bit easier to work with and a little bit more rational in that regard. But I think we're going to continue to push to get the sidewalks done, and I support these changes. And if there hasn't been a motion, I'm happy to move item 72, A, B, C, and D.
Any other council comments?
I just want to reiterate, too, that we have made a strong commitment for sidewalks, and if we could figure out how, in even next year's budget, we could get it accelerated, especially the priority ones. I think that we're open to do that and have made that commitment in the past, and I think we've talked about it even in work sessions. So I don't know of anyone up here that is not committed to getting more sidewalks, because there is a shortfall in some areas, and we all know what areas those are. So to make this community more walkable.
All right. We have a motion, I believe, and we've had public input as well as council input, so I want to thank everybody. Voting's in process.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
Item 73, it's on Whitmer Park Playground and Restroom Improvement, a resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, receiving and file of bids, and designating the lowest responsible bidder is Graphite Construction Group, Inc. Russell Carew is the president. $558,000. Council Communication number 21-296. A is approval of the contract and bond and permission to sublet. Again, we'll open it up for any general comment here, but it's about the plans, it's about the specs, it's about the contract, and it's about the estimated cost of the improvement, and only those comments are going to be considered germane.
Hello. Jalen Gavel, he, him pronouns. Speaking on item 73 about Whitmer Park. $500,000, that's a lot of money. I just want to, throw that out there just so we all acknowledge, $558,000 is a lot of money. One thing about Whitmer Park, I don't know about y'all, how often y'all frequent it or not. It seems every time I'm at Whitmer Park, I see some cops. Like, cops are always there, patrolling, parked there, driving around. I've even seen someone get arrested there one time.
This is about the plan specifications, contract, and the estimated cost.
For where? What's the project? Where's the project at, Frank?
Of Whitmer Park.
Whitmer Park. Okay, that's what I was talking about.
Okay,
right?
so you're talking about the plans or the specs, right?
Right, and I'm talking about the price tag specifically on that. $558,000. It's about $500,000. Over $70 million is what we spend for the police budget every year, and some of that money is going to patrolling Whitmer Park.
You're not germane. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next speaker, anybody? All right. Seeing none, do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'm really disappointed that we're going this route. I had hoped that we'd have some better bidding. We have made some commitments to the neighborhood that we were going to have both a playground and a restroom facility by the end of the year. I will move 73 and 73A, but I think I would like, before we vote on it, I'd like to find out what avenues we have if there are failures along the way. From prior experience, there are things that get left undone. I think this is very important. I think the neighbors expect us to do the job that was requested from them. I know Jonathan and Ben both have met with some of the neighbors, and it was not good. So this will probably be under a microscope. But I kind of feel like I'm in a corner. We made a commitment to the community, and we can't back out now. So I will move 73 and 73A.
Just a quick comment. Bill, I completely respect this project and want to see it get done and want the neighbors to get a great product. My problem is the contractor that was awarded the bid. We've had, not only here in Des Moines, but in our region, they did other public projects that we all are aware of They haven't paid their subcontractors. They're in mediation for some of those projects. They did a project here in Des Moines that cost us multiple time hours by our staff to basically babysit them, because when I visited the site when it was, I don't know, it was probably 3/4 of the way done. Connie and I had went out there. I think we've all went out there. It looked like a high school student was taking care of that job site. I was just appalled by that's the type of work that we're using city tax dollars to be done. And I understand that they fixed all the things that they had messed up, and I respect that. But that still cost us time, and time is money. I'm not sure if they are a responsive bidder. Legal says they are a responsive bidder, but I will not, and it is not about Whitmer Park or the park system or anything like that. I will not support giving Graphite, which has changed their name from another company, one single dollar of my money as a taxpayer of the city of Des Moines to do anything. The reason why this bid is so low is because they can't get any respectable subcontractors to bid on it. So they are going to get the bottom of the barrel to do this work. And that's what we're going to get out of this project. And that really frustrates me, and I can't support that. So I'll leave it at that. But I think that we need to do a better job of venting responsive bidders and allowing them, especially when we have a history of it. And I know, Scott, you and I have had multiple conversations, so we'll leave it at that. But I won't say much more, but I think everyone gets the gist of what I'm saying.
I'd ask legal to quickly sort of update us on what the legal position is on who can bid and who can't.
Yeah, the advice that this comes to what is in Iowa Code Chapter 26, specifically subsections 10 and 9 and 10. And it was changed, it was amended by the legislature a few years ago, and it's very narrow now as to what can be determined to be a responsible bidder, and that is limited to consideration of the number of employees that they have as a contractor and their experience in the business, not our experience with them, and an ability to finance. And we have a recommendation from the city engineer and the project engineer that has worked with them in the past, indicating that when there have been mistakes, they have been corrected just like any other type of typical contract. And for that reason, the engineer is and has indicated in a communication to you and in the roll call that he has determined that the lowest bidder is the one who is responsible and responsive under Chapter 26.
But to clarify, in one of our regional partners, and I'm not going to say a name, this company actually is under a different name, but is operated under the same people, are in mediation, and that is one of our questions as a responsive bidder.
Right, and Councilmember Gatto, you well know that anyone can sue, and it's just whether it's successful. And I understand that there's mediation going on. We don't know all the facts of that. But that's a decision made by that public entity.
I understand.
And it's a separate decision for this public.
But anybody can get a bond to build anything, and that's what we're basing this on.
I'd like.
Isn't the hearing closed?
Can we still speak?
Okay, we have to reopen this. Council, do we want to have more outside conversation on this?
Not really.
I was going to agree with Joe Gatto, so that seems noteworthy in itself.
You don't need to do that. It's okay.
Unions tend to provide more quality work. Maybe that'd be the best consideration.
All right, any more council conversation?
What is the time frame? Because this is time sensitive, right? Isn't, this is a very time sensitive project? Bill?
Bill can speak to.
By year end.
Okay, because don't they have the playground is ready to go in like in September?
That's
or
correct. They
something?
raised enough money to get the playground equipment purchased. And I don't know how much longer. We had a grant from Polk County about 3 years ago, so pretty soon that's going to expire. So got to make sure that we take advantage of that. It's a generous gift.
And Mayor, if I could just add,
Yes.
I understand that there are volunteers ready to help
That's
with
right.
the installation. as well,
Absolutely.
so we don't want to let them down either.
That's what I was going to say. Don't we usually go out with the Des Moines Police Department, the neighborhood services, and put the playground stuff together? Because I know we did that at Weeks Middle School, and it's amazing what they did, the Des Moines Police Department, in the help that they gave us. On their own time, not getting paid for it.
The motion's
We've
been
got a
made.
motion down here.
Yep. I moved 73 and 73A.
All right.
Imagine how many folks they
5 yes, 2 no, motion carries.
Item 74, which is on the city facility fiscal year 21-22 parking lot improvements resolution approving the plans, specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, receive and file bids, and designating the lowest responsible bidder is Concrete Technologies, Inc., Brad Baumler, President, $572,178.20. Council Communication Number 21-286. A is the approval of the contract and the bond and permission to sublet. Again, we'll open it up for general public objections to the plans, the specifications, contract, or estimated costs of the public improvement. Anybody to speak to that on this item?
If not, I'll move 74 and 74A. I move 74 and 74A.
Okay, 74 and 74A have been moved.
woman is a white supremacist, that's why you give her a pass.
Your Honor, that's 7 yes, motion carries.
All right, it's 6:58. That completes the hearings. We need to have a, yeah. All right, so we have item 75. Item 75 are requests from the public to speak. So before these speaking items, for those persons who are going to speak this evening, under the public speaking items on the agenda, we will only be calling on those who have registered to speak. Each of the 20 speakers this evening will receive 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes, to make their comments. Please keep your own time, because at the end of the 2 minutes, the clerk will announce time and the speaker's time will be up, and we will move immediately to the next speaker. We want to hear from all of our residents, and we encourage the residents to be respectful to the others' viewpoints that are different from their own. And while you may certainly disagree with that viewpoint, I want to remind everyone that the council's rules provide that any comments that are slanderous will result in that speaker being barred from further comment. As the presiding officer, I will determine whether the comments are slanderous or not. And a fair warning, arguing with the presiding officer about this determination on any matter is not permitted, and doing so will be considered disruptive and result in the speaker being barred from further comments during any portion of the meeting. So let's start in. Our first speaker tonight is Abby Bankus.
Yep. It's Banks for the second time. My name is Abby Banks. I'm a Drake student and resident of the Drake neighborhood. My mom died a week ago, but instead of grieving with my family and spending time processing that, I'm here to address the seemingly never-ending pursuits by you all to ensure that as few people have access to decision-making and an accessible community as possible. This includes, but is nowhere limited to, severely limiting the number of people allowed in council chambers under the BS guise of public safety, despite not requiring masks or literally any other legitimate safety precautions. This is clearly an attempt to limit public participation by people who could frankly not care less about the council's shady business dealings, and it is instead fighting for a safer and more equitable city for all people, something you all obviously do not care about. Continuing to exclude disabled community members at every turn, whether it be non-wheelchair safe sidewalks, inaccessible meetings and bus stop placements, or limiting resources for disabled folks, you're showing time and time again that you serve only the rich, white, cis, straight, and non-disabled gentrifiers of Des Moines. Pushing through a resolution that makes it even more difficult to hold fascist Dana Wingert and Scott Sanders accountable. And to my previous point, not including a Zoom option for all council meetings. Even in a non-pandemic, these meetings are not accessible for all, and that needs to change. Additionally, if you care so much about the houseless community as it would appear you do at the beginning of this meeting, maybe stop evicting houseless camps. We are not a small but vocal group of residents and non-residents. We're an extremely large group of community members that will continue to show up at meetings, at protests, and at your, pardon my non-germane language, goddamn doorsteps until you take us seriously. Your attempts to silence us show that you're scared. Good. Because we're not going anywhere, and we're gonna stay showing up until this shit changes. And no, Frank, I'm not sorry for being ungermane. Also, buy a fucking thesaurus because your use of that word is tired. Thank you.
All right, Mathea Littlesmith. She's not here? Okay. Laurel Clinton.
Good evening. I know you guys missed me, but I'm back. I don't know if I can show this picture over there. Not available. It's a picture that my 17-year-old nephew drew. He's a student at Waukee. It says "Wanted Dead." He's an honors student at Waukee High School. He ran track and he got accepted into Yale. But this is how he feels when he's in his car driving, that he's wanted dead. When he comes to visit my son, who's graduating from Roosevelt with honors next year. And I want you guys to understand that I came here tonight because we helped develop the 6-point racial profiling, anti-racial profiling ordinance that you guys adopted. So when you guys placed someone with excessive force on the de-escalation train, Scott, I'm sorry, that was a bad decision. And I wished that you, like me, would try to be more proactive instead of reactive. If you knew that you had perf in your pocket, this could have de-escalated a lot of stuff for our community because we knew you were working for us at that time. But you decided to keep that hidden until it became embarrassing for you guys. And I believe to this day, if that excessive force claim did not come up, we would still be dealing with Fong and O'Neill on the de-escalation training. I just want to be honest with you guys. This is the people's house, and we have a right. It's our First Amendment right to air our grievances. And it's not always pretty when you complain. But it's also not pretty when you're not heard by the people that you rely on to make the decisions for your community. So I thank you for your time, and I hope if you go back to Zoom that you will be on camera so we can see you when you make decisions for us. Thank you.
Frida Beckwith.
Hi, my name's Frida Beckwith. I live in Ward 1, and I'm speaking today on behalf of a recently formed organization called It's Us, the DSM Homeless Community. It's Us formed because our city government is hostile towards houseless folks. The city has not slowed or stopped its evictions of camps despite the global pandemic and despite CDC recommendations to allow houseless camps to remain intact instead of pushing people into overcrowded shelters. This month, the city stopped using the previous camp eviction process that gave camp residents a timeline and option to appeal. The city is now posting eviction notices citing City Code Section 60-13, declaring displacing people during a pandemic an emergency action. Where was y'all's emergency action to house all the residents of Des Moines during the deadly ongoing pandemic? This is inhumane, and you should all be ashamed. It's Us has identified 3 demands the city government could easily meet. These 3 simple actions can alleviate needless suffering for the houseless community. Number 1, immediately stop all camp evictions. Number 2, provide designated camping areas for the unhoused close to bus lines and service outreach centers. Number 3, provide basic sanitation and trash services to camps. I'm now going to uplift a recent press statement that It's Us put out on the June 6th eviction that displaced over 27 people from downtown Des Moines. It states, "We strongly condemn the City of Des Moines' most recent attempt to remove us from our camps by the use of weaponized encroachment codes, threat of force, and arrest. These methods are used to make it next to impossible to fight our displacement or to appeal the removal in the court system. The city plays with our lives with absolute power. We are tired. Many of us have had to move multiple times in the last few months due to previous displacements of this kind. When the city does this, they destroy any semblance of normalcy or safety we've been able to develop, and our ability to get our feet underneath us is dramatically decreased. We are not treated by the city government with the respect all humans are due. We are treated as a problem to be dealt with." Often citing CIS as the answer to the problems perpetuated by the city, this carceral, unhygienic, and overcrowded conditions worsen our chances of suffering from COVID-19 and make the shelter not an option for many of us. We demand the respect we are due and the peace to better our own lives. The city has given us a 10-day notice to remove ourselves and our belongings from our camps. Beginning June 6th, we are at risk of losing everything. We demand an immediate halt to this and all future evictions of houseless camps in the Des Moines area.
Is Lisa Barnheiser in the room? Lisa? All right, let's move to Alyssa Hausgen. Alyssa? Ron Goodman. Ron?
Yes, my name is Ron Goodman. I live in Ankeny. I'm a member of CCI and the CCI Racial Justice Team, and speaking about the ongoing effort to get the 6 points passed in the city of Des Moines. It's been shown that the rate of marijuana use is about the same with black people and white people. Yet blacks are arrested, charged, sentenced at a much higher rate than whites. Thus, black folks are disproportionately saddled with felony records that bar them from employment, from housing assistance, student financial assistance, etc. Now, putting up roadblocks to legal livelihood tends to steer people toward a path of crime. A few days ago, Connecticut became the 19th state to legalize recreational marijuana use, with several more states expected to follow shortly. The writing is on the wall. Recreational marijuana will be legal in most states soon. Of course, it's not the city council's job to determine the legal status of marijuana in Iowa. However, the council can direct how the law is enforced here in Des Moines by the police. The Marijuana Task Force, created by the Des Moines City Council, made a number of recommendations to the city. Those should be passed without further delay, including an ordinance which directs that marijuana for personal use be given the lowest enforcement priority. The future of marijuana's legality is clear. There is no reason to continue to ruin the lives of Des Moines residents for doing something perfectly legal in much of the country. Thank you.
Nancy Goodman.
Yes, I'm Nancy from Ankeny. I'm on the CCI Racial Justice Team also. And council members are required to act as informed and responsible decision makers in the interest of our community. The Des Moines City Council needs to start listening to the community and act on the community's demands. And this is about banning pretextual stops. For example, what I'm talking about, pulling people over saying you have a burned out taillight, when in reality we all know the police are just fishing. They're really hoping to find something illegal, and that's not right. Chief Wingert falsely claims these stops aren't racially motivated, but they're vital. We have to catch the drug dealers. Yet data from the past 5 years shows only 20 stops out of some 6,000 found 100 grams of marijuana, and that is the level which defines a drug dealer. So, what do we get out of this? These stops aren't finding drug dealers. These stops are racially motivated, and they have the potential not only of harassing drivers of color, but also killing drivers of color, as we've seen repeatedly across our whole country. We know this ban is long overdue. If the council doesn't move ahead on the ordinance to ban these pretextual stops, we really need an explanation as to why you can't do that. Thanks.
Adam Callanan.
Hello, my name is Adam Callanan. I use he, him pronouns. I would like to talk first about just coming into these meetings, because we now have to go through a security checkpoint, and they aren't looking for weapons, even though it seems like what we are told they're looking for. Instead, they're looking for things like food and water, which just abundantly makes this less accessible of meetings. A lot of us had to throw away water bottles to come in here. And they're also looking for things like signs, anything that could be speech. Yeah, they're not looking for weapons, though, which I just think explains a lot of what's happening here, that's what the security guards are here for. They also don't know the rules. We tried to ask them things like, why were we kicked out of the meeting for standing up, which isn't our rule, and they just told us they don't know about the rules, they just do stuff. So it's really interesting that that's who's in charge of this. I would like to speak a bit as well on behalf of John Noble, who was arrested earlier for, again, trying to ask for the rules and try to see how people could get let in that weren't even kicked out in the first place, because a large number of people are not allowed into the chambers at all, even though they were not kicked out. And for doing that, he was arrested, trying to get answers. Anyway, from him, he says, first, fuck you. Second, I was just trying to get you all to follow your own bullshit rules, which were posted and we read them, but then you didn't follow them, of course. And also defund DMPD. And lastly, fuck you again.
Vanessa Monchel. Vanessa. Vanessa? Okay. James T. Grimm. James T. Grimm. Chelsea Chisholm Vargas. Chelsea, I believe, emailed us that she is unable to make it this evening.
She sent you something to read.
I didn't see it.
She texted it to you.
She just asked if she could submit something. I didn't get anything. But she could submit something through the clerk's office or to the city manager's office. Okay, KT Menke. KT? Yeah, there you go.
Des Moines City Council, my name is KT and I use they, them pronouns. To start, I'd like to do land recognition. This land was obtained from the Iowa Nation through the Meskwaki and the Sauk tribes. It's only right to recognize our obligation to those who have cared for this land for over 10,000 years and to those to come. As the council sits here in this building, making deals, fist pumping each other, it fails to remember that it would not be here if it wasn't for the ancestral tribes willing to share and do the labor and work for the building this country. This very community, this and those out there and those that are listening, and those might not be listening. They're literally here picking up your failures to see people as human instead of symbols or dollar symbols. You're busy closing bridges, passing hundreds of thousands of dollars into newly discovered police reform programs, while inciting encroachment laws to get rid of houseless people from where they're living in their camps as a way to get around eviction laws. Who does that? What kind of people do that? The houseless people are still houseless. You're not helping them or fixing anything. You're not doing anything to go out there and actually make things better in their lives. What kind of people do that? Why did you take your position for what you're doing right now? Listen to what Frida read to you. Listen to the demands of It's Us. Do better. And by do better, I mean do better for everyone. Thank you.
And disruptive, yeah. I think we'll let him speak anyway. Jalen, go ahead.
You recognizing me?
I'm recognizing you.
Appreciate it, boss. Jalen Cavill, he, him pronouns. Speaking on my public speaking time now. Just want to say, welcome everyone. We're back to the Des Moines City Council chambers. This time, militarized version. Look at all the pigs out there with their guns drawn and their badges out. Is this necessary, folks? Ask yourselves that. Why are you trying to criminalize the community who has legitimate concerns and legitimate grievances that they want to address with y'all and want y'all to take some actual action? Instead, you'd rather criminalize folks, which we have seen time and time again. Just want to acknowledge it is summer of 2021. We've had some anniversaries come up, some anniversaries coming up in the future, right? May 31st, 2020. When the Des Moines Police Department with other law enforcement agencies tear gassed and shot rubber bullets at children at Merle Hay. Also arrested a member of the media. We all know how that trial played out. June 22nd, very recent, that was actually last week, that was the night that the Des Moines Police Department with the Iowa State Patrol and the Polk County Sheriff's Office kettled nonviolent protesters over here, right by the East Village, over by the Capitol. I know that council members here are aware of this. I know I sent videos to Connie, I sent videos to Josh, I sent videos to Frank, who all told me, oh, we're gonna look into this, we're gonna do something. Josh said, we're gonna do an investigation. No investigation has happened though. Just acknowledging these anniversaries and kind of reflecting on where we are now a year out. July 1st coming up, that's, the day where the Des Moines Police Department along with the Iowa State Patrol arrested many people at the state capitol. If folks remember that, they were extremely violent with nonviolent protesters and put people in jail. And so in this past year, we've seen tons of police violence here in this city. You all are completely aware of it. We try to tell you all, but instead you double down with your racism, right? You double down with your back the blue. Today you passed number 53, right? The resolution expressing support for our city staff. We should just let it be known that the Des Moines City Council joins with the Iowa legislature saying we unequivocally back the blue. We are racist. We support white supremacy. We support violence. We support the racist city manager, Scott Sanders, who was not elected by anyone in this city, yet makes over
in the room. Bridget? No. Bridget's up. You're taking her time.
Okay, well, I just want to say first.
You're taking. No.
We should not be spending all of this money on this de-escalation training. That's not.
Bridget, if you want to take your time, you're up.
That is not keeping people safe. They can go to as many trainings as they want.
Jalen, you're again being disruptive. Jalen, I'm going to ask you to stop. Jalen?
Frank County, you are a violent and racist individual. Scott Sanders, you are a racist.
Jalen, sit down. You need to, Jalen, leave. Jalen.
But we know he's fucking racist.
Just get him out of here.
All right. Jalen, you got to go. I'm asking you to leave, Jalen.
You had no problem with her walking all up and down over there.
Jalen?
You let plenty of people speak over the time. You let that old white lady speak over her time. Just because you don't want the meeting, Frank.
He needs to be out.
You need to be quiet. Bridget, you're up.
Hey guys, my name is Bridget Peterson. Pronouns are she, hers, and I've come to this
circus today to once again tell you all how disappointed I am in you and how embarrassed I am that this is the best that we can do for leadership right now. You're so scared of being criticized that you label it disruption and you criminalize us for it. Can you imagine what it must be like for us to see you all collapse under the merest scrutiny? It's really sad. Josh, you're running as a progressive candidate, right? You voted yes for that $140,000. Like, what the hell? Like, all right, maybe I don't know anything about running a campaign, but that seems like a really bad move. And Linda, I'm moving into your ward. Can I get some eye contact from you, Linda? I'll wait. All right, you can be a baby and not look at me. I'll look at you. Your face is getting nice and red, so that's nice. I'm moving into your ward, actually, here in a few weeks, and I grew up in the area that's currently being gentrified on 6th and Euclid. And I'm really bummed because I think my property taxes are going to go up and the neighborhood is going to change, not from the one that I grew up in and that I was really excited to move back to. Also, Bill Gray, tip your fucking servers. You never tip. Yeah, fuck y'all.
Leah Plath. Leah?
Leah Plath, she, her. I wonder what path of listening and learning led you here tonight. Was it a mask you all had to put on so you didn't have to face the uncomfortable truth that you are all white supremacists upholding white supremacy while on the job? Time and time again, we are told that there are better outlets and wiser ways to use our voices, like calling, writing letters, and having conversations. And you all know that has been done as well. It just doesn't matter. Calls go unanswered, letters tossed aside, and conversations long forgotten about. If it mattered, change would be happening. If it mattered, I would see you all getting more emotional over people dying in our community because the city doesn't provide adequate resources instead of crying over some zoning code for a sidewalk. I hope you are ashamed of yourselves that every chance you get, you find a way to implement measures to restrict the ways a small but vocal group gets to engage with these discussions and meetings. I hope you find it embarrassing that people in this community put more work in to make Des Moines a more equitable place to live than the city itself does. The work isn't paid, and it is often people taking what little time and money they have to help others. I wonder what Dana Winger's $183,404 a year salary, or Scott Sanders' $247,800 a year salary, or $140,000 for some more crappy police training could do for this community if it was in the hands of better people. What does sitting around and patting each other on the backs actually do for the people of Des Moines? What good is recognizing Pride Month when transgender people in this state are having to fight their rights left and right, and they're debated over constantly? What good is recognizing Juneteenth when a Black children's memorial is burnt down, when cops in the city treated a missing Black boy's family like absolute crap during the investigation, when more money is continually funded into the police department that will then in turn target Black people in our community? What good is putting out a statement as a city council saying you'll work with disability requests when you actively deny those requests and are making these meetings increasingly harder to attend for those with disabilities? It is not, nor will ever be, a disruption demand and want better for the city of Des Moines.
Reverend Emily Ewing.
Reverend Emily Ewing, they, them pronouns. Speaking to item 40, which you wouldn't let us speak to. Again and again, we, the people of Des Moines, have told you that PERF, the Police Executive Research Forum, aka white supremacists, training is dangerous for the people of Des Moines, especially the most vulnerable, marginalized, and oppressed. Making an exception to spend over $140,000 on training DMPD to be even worse and even more harmful in responding to protests, as PERF did with police attacking water protectors at Standing Rock, betrays the values of the city of Des Moines and puts our community at increasing risk. We have been asking for support against police brutality, and you continually ignore, dismiss, and create fake silent majorities, which is a racist dog whistle, to counter the very real cries of the city of Des Moines. You can do better than this. Make the choice. Do better. Speaking speaking against item 53, which again, we weren't allowed to speak to. Drake University is not the concerned community that you are supposed to be working with on addressing the racist violence of the police. The independent third party is not reliable or trustworthy. Perf is harmful, racist, violent. You know the statistics. For each person that speaks here, you know that there are at least 50 other people who agree with them and aren't showing up. You know this from your election campaigns. That's how it works. Hundreds have gathered in other more accessible ways, which you refuse to provide, to show support for firing Scott Sanders for his racism, Dana Wingert for his racism. Just because you are combining your racism and ableism in order to make these meetings as inaccessible as possible and silence the people of Des Moines does not mean that the vocal majority exists. The vocal majority of speakers at each council meeting is this group. The group that is concerned citizens, and policing has not improved and is not likely to unless drastic changes are made.
Athena?
You can debate the legality of what you do, and even if
Athena
you
Hannum.
want to do legal, you know as well as I that what you continue to do in silencing the people.
Emily, you're being disruptive and you're taking Athena's time.
The harm caused by DMPD is immoral. As a call and
Okay.
for justice and peace in all the world. You are furthering injustice.
Leva.
That is immoral, and you will have to answer to your own
Jamie Liva.
for those sins.
Jamie, are you in? Jamie? All right. Chris Morse. Chris? Is Chris Morse? Is he out?
Talk about item 53 though, on the resolution to support Scott Sanders and Dana Wingert.
Absolutely.
Oh,
We
you
will make a
unanimously.
motion to adjourn
Josh
on that,
Greenbaum.
Mr. Mayor.
You stand on that?
I'll move to receive and file items 75, A through T, and let's all have a good night.
You stand with the racist police?
All in favor of receiving and filing comments on 75? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They're all in. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Y'all making this room every day because you kicked everybody out.